Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as I fill up some pots for my porches filled with beautiful plants for springtime. As you know, I'm all about gardening on a budget. So I'm basically going to go around my yard and collect things from my containers. I'm going to start with the Alyssum and the Pansies that I started from seed, and I'm also going to get the Primrose that I recently bought from a garden center. We're now in my backyard where I have a large raised bed. In this bed, I have some chive plants, and I used the chive plants in some of my spring pots last year, and they looked gorgeous. So I'm going to go ahead and get some of those dug out. To our space where we're going to be putting the pots together, and I'll come back and collect some more plants. The next thing that we're going to dig up is creeping Jenny. I have a ton of creeping Jenny in this bed. When I took them out of all my window boxes and hanging baskets last year, I wasn't really sure where to overwinter them, so I figured the vegetable garden was a great place to keep them just for the winter months. So let's go ahead and dig some of that up as well. Right, that's done. So let's head to our next place where we're going to get one more plant. What we're looking at here is Lamium. It's a beautiful ground cover. It has a nice variegated foliage. Right now you don't notice it because it's just springtime, but it will be beautiful in another few weeks, and it also has a very pretty blossom on it. I'm almost sure this particular Lamium that we're going to be digging up has a purple colored blossom. So let's go ahead and dig some of this up. Okay, so we are all set with getting the plants that we need for our pots. So let's head back over and start filling up those pots with some beautiful things. So we have plenty of plants here to make our pots beautiful. What I'm going to do is just zoom in and show you some close-up shots of what I'm doing to make these pots. So let's go. I'm a very visual person. I like to see things before I actually go ahead and plant something like a container. So what I've gone and done is I just placed the plants the way that I think I really want to put them in this container. So I really jam-packed it. But with that said, there are a lot of things that are quite small and will take some time to grow. I'm okay with that. I'm a patient gardener. I don't mind waiting. I know I saved a lot of money in making these pots in these containers, so I'm okay with waiting a little bit for some beautiful plants to grow in them. So what I did here is, here's the primrose that I recently bought from a garden center, and I'm using that as a filler towards the front. And then in the center here is the chives that I dug out from my vegetable garden, and I'm using that as a thriller in the center of my pot. And then I have a bunch of alyssum dotted throughout, and those are acting as fillers in this container. And then I have my small, tiny little pansies. Here's one. Um, and these will also fill in over time. And then I put the Lamium. There's one over here, there's one here, there's one here. And those eventually will drape down, and those will be spillers. They will also have some blossoms on them. And then towards the front is the Creeping Jenny, and that is also a spiller. That sometimes has a yellow blossom on it if the conditions are right, but I just like it for the foliage. So the only other thing I wanted to mention was I'm going to be putting some fertilizer. It's a slow release fertilizer, and I'm going to do this as I plant in each of the planting holes. And you can use whatever fertilizer you like. There are lots of different slow release fertilizers out there. I plan on putting this in now, and then in probably about 3 or 4 weeks, I will also do a liquid fertilizer just so it's getting enough fertilization. And so I'm going to go ahead and plant this up, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. I'm not going to lie, the first pot of spring is completed, and I am super excited about it. So one thing I wanted to mention was that the potting mix that I used was one that I made on my own. I usually buy a bagged potting mix, but this year I wanted to make my own because I had a lot of material already on hand, material that I was using for my own seed starting mix. So I did make a video recently showing you how to make your own potting mix. I'll make a card at the top here, so just make sure to check that out. And also be sure to subscribe and follow my channel if you want to see updates on how this pot is coming out, as well as all the others as the spring progresses. It's going to fill right in, and it's just going to look gorgeous. I can't wait. I made sure to give a nice drink of water to the last pot that I put together. Now I'm going to work on these 2 black pots that I have here. And since I don't have any more Primrose, I wanted to change it up and do something a little different with these 2 pots. So you see 1 pot here, but there are 2 of them actually that we're going to be making together. So I did put a red colored lettuce that I had started from seed. I got that off my rolling cart. And so I'm putting that towards the front. I thought that would be a nice color with this mix. And then I'm using all the same plants that I used in the other container. One thing I wanted to point out was after I'm done with some of these perennials that are in these container pots, I will be planting them back in the ground. So that would be the Primrose, the Chives, we have the Creeping Jenny, and then we have the Lamium. So they are perennial in zone 5 here in New Hampshire. So I do plan on putting them back in the landscape when I'm done with these containers. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to put these pots together, and I will show you what they look like when I'm done. Both containers are done. So what I'm going to do is give them both a drink of water, and then I'm going to show you where all the pots are going to be placed right near my porches. I'm so pleased with how the pots came out. It's going to take a little time, but they will eventually take off. And check out the bulbs on my porch. We've had a couple of very, very cold nights, so I had to give them some protection. But now for the next week, it's going to be nice and warm, so I can't wait for all the bulbs to start blooming as well. I placed the pot with the primrose on my front porch. It looks so beautiful here, especially with the pond as a backdrop. I hope you all make it a great day with gardening.